Welcome back to Recaps Unlocked. Today we're breaking down a sci-fi thriller film from 2011 called Limitless. Spoilers ahead. There's loud banging on a metal door inside a luxury Manhattan apartment building. The hallway is silent except for the echo of fists slamming against steel. Inside the apartment, expensive furniture sits neatly arranged, but something feels wrong. Two men lie dead on the floor in another unit nearby. The camera moves upward, higher and higher, until we reach the top of the building. On the edge of a balcony, hundreds of feet above the streets of New York, stands Eddie Mora. One foot is hanging slightly over the edge. The wind pushes against his suit jacket. His breathing is steady, but his eyes reveal calculation. From the apartment next door, two gunshots suddenly ring out. A neighbor must have investigated the noise. Eddie looks down at the traffic below. He closes his eyes. But to understand how he got here, we need to go back. A little over a year earlier, Eddie looks completely different. His hair is messy. His clothes are wrinkled. He walks through the city with no direction. He calls himself a writer, but the truth is he hasn't written anything in months. He has a book contract, yet every day he sits at his laptop and produces nothing. Instead of writing, he drinks. Lindy is Eddie's girlfriend. She works in publishing and once supported his dreams, but she has watched him avoid responsibility for too long. Eddie thinks the breakup comes out of nowhere. It doesn't. She reminds him that he did the same thing in his previous marriage to Melissa. He always talks about potential but never acts on it. She doesn't want promises, she wants action. After she leaves, Eddie walks home feeling like a failure. That's when he runs into Vernon, his ex-brother-in-law. Vernon used to be unreliable and shady, but now he looks confident and well-dressed. Vernon suggests they grab a drink. At the bar, Vernon talks about Melissa and casually mentions he's involved in pharmaceuticals. He notices Eddie's frustration and brings up a solution: a designer drug called NZT-48. He says it allows you to access 100% of your brain. It sharpens memory, focus, and intelligence beyond normal limits. Eddie laughs at first. It sounds ridiculous. Vernon needs to leave, but gives Eddie his business card and one free pill. Eddie stares at the small clear tablet. He feels worthless. He feels stuck. With nothing left to lose, he swallows it. At first, nothing happens. Then suddenly, everything changes. His senses heighten. Sounds become sharper. Light becomes brighter. Every memory he has ever had becomes instantly accessible. He remembers details from childhood. He recalls books he skimmed years ago. He understands complex ideas effortlessly. Right then, his landlord's wife Valerie confronts him about unpaid rent. Normally, he would avoid eye contact and apologize. But now, he studies her facial expressions, her body language, her insecurities. He realizes she once studied law but dropped out. He encourages her to return to school and even helps her write an essay. He structures the argument perfectly in minutes. Valerie is stunned. Then they sleep together. Back inside his apartment, Eddie suddenly sees the chaos clearly. He cleans everything with intense precision. He organizes his life in a single night. Then he writes. The words flow without effort. Because he can see the entire narrative structure at once, he writes page after page without stopping. The next morning, the effect is gone. His mind feels slow again, but the manuscript pages remain. That's proof. Eddie rushes to his publisher and asks her to read it. She calls him later, shocked by how brilliant it is. Instead of celebrating, Eddie goes back to Vernon for more pills. But when he arrives at Vernon's apartment, he notices something is wrong. Vernon looks beaten up. He seems nervous. He tells Eddie he'll give him more NZT, but first he needs a small favor. Pick up dry cleaning. Grab breakfast. When Eddie returns, the door is open. The apartment is trashed. Vernon lies dead on the couch. Someone murdered him searching for the drug. Eddie panics but thinks fast. He searches before calling the police. He finds a hidden stash of NZT pills, a black notebook filled with names and cash. He hides the pills just before officers arrive. At the station, a detective questions him suspiciously, Melissa calls and tells him not to attend Vernon's funeral. Eddie leaves paranoid, convinced he's being followed. Back home, he takes another pill. This time, he embraces the power fully. He gets a haircut, buys tailored suits, finishes his novel, learns piano in 3 days, studies foreign languages and uses them to charm women. Wins big at poker because he calculates probabilities instantly. He reinvents himself completely, but writing feels small now. Because he can see stock market patterns like mathematical art, he decides to enter finance. He approaches a loan shark named Gennady and convinces him to lend him $100,000. Gennady warns him clearly, fail to repay, and the consequences will be brutal. Eddie invests the money and doubles it quickly. His reputation grows. He joins wealthy circles, attends parties, and flies on private jets. Carl Van Loon, a powerful billionaire investor, notices him. He invites Eddie to discuss a massive corporate merger. During lunch, Eddie impresses him with extraordinary pattern recognition and strategic insight. Lindy returns to his life. He impresses her by ordering fluent Italian and apologizes for his past behavior. They begin seeing each other again. But the side effects begin. Eddie starts losing time. He experiences blackouts. One night he wakes up in a strange apartment next to a woman he barely knows. Later, news reports say she was murdered. He cannot remember the last 18 hours. At a critical meeting with Van Loon, Eddie runs out of NZT. Without it, financial documents look like meaningless symbols. He embarrasses himself and leaves abruptly. Desperate, he contacts names from Vernon's black book. Most users are dead or terminally ill. The drug destroys people. Melissa admits she used it too. She nearly died when she quit abruptly. She warns Eddie to taper off slowly. Everything collapses at once. A mysterious man follows him constantly. Van Loon pressures him about the merger. Gennady hunts him. Lindy is chased through a park by the same mysterious man. In desperation, she takes an NZT pill Eddie gave her. Instantly, she calculates escape routes and defeats the attacker. But she is frightened by the power and leaves Eddie, unwilling to be part of this life. Then Gennady and his men break into Eddie's luxury apartment. This brings us back to the opening scene. Eddie stands on the balcony edge while they search inside. He refuses to jump. Instead, he remembers Gennady injected dissolved NZT. During the struggle, Eddie stabs him and drinks his blood to absorb the drug. His mind explodes with clarity. He fights with precision and eliminates the attackers. After surviving, Eddie decides he will never be powerless again. He hires a chemist, offering $2 million to replicate and improve NZT safely. 12 months pass. Eddie has a best-selling novel. He is wealthy. He is running for U.S. Senate. Van Loon confronts him and reveals he knows about NZT. He shut down Eddie's lab and offers to supply him in exchange for loyalty. Eddie refuses. He claims he improved the formula and no longer needs it. Whether he is bluffing remains unclear, but he appears confident and fully in control. The film ends with Eddie meeting Lindy at a restaurant. Calm, focused, ambitious. The man who once stood ready to jump is now aiming for political power. That's Limitless,